Did you know that the average person spends almost 47% of their waking hours lost in thought? That's right, nearly half of your day is spent worrying about the future or replaying the past. This shocking statistic, revealed in a study from Harvard University, shows just how difficult it is to stay present. In today's fast-paced world, distractions are everywhere. Between social media, emails, and endless notifications, our minds are constantly pulled away from what truly matters. But why is this happening? Our brains are wired to think ahead and reflect on past experiences, a trait that helped our ancestors survive. Yet, in modern life, this means we often miss out on the beauty of the present moment. And that's not just a personal loss, it affects our mental health, focus, and happiness. A study published in Psychological Science found that people who practice mindfulness experience lower stress levels and better emotional regulation. In this video, we'll explore why it's so hard to be fully present and offer you practical strategies to regain your focus. From emotional hijacks to the dopamine trap of technology, we'll uncover the hidden habits that pull you away from the now. You'll learn simple techniques to bring your awareness back, even when your mind wants to wander. Get ready to embark on a journey toward greater mindfulness. You won't achieve perfection, but you will discover how to create meaningful moments in your daily life. Let's dive in and see how you can reclaim the present. Chapter 1: The Mind's Hidden Agenda. Why you're always distracted. Ever find yourself drifting off in the middle of a conversation or zoning out when you're supposed to be focused? You're not alone. The truth is, your brain is hardwired for distraction. Studies show that the human mind wanders 47% of the time, according to a 2010 Harvard study. That's nearly half your day spent thinking about something other than the present moment. And here's the kicker, it's not your fault. Our ancestors had to stay alert to threats in their environment, so the brain evolved to scan constantly. This ability to think ahead, or dwell on the past, kept them alive. That's why your brain slips into default mode, where it jumps from thought to thought. It's trying to protect you, but in modern life, it pulls you out of the moment. But there's good news. While you can't stop your brain from wandering completely, you can train it to refocus. A great strategy is something called anchoring. It's a simple technique where you choose a mental anchor like focusing on your breath, a sound, or a particular sensation, to ground yourself whenever you notice your mind drifting. Another effective tip is practicing mindful interruptions. Every time you catch yourself lost in thought, pause and ask, what's happening in my body right now? Redirecting your awareness to the physical sensations immediately brings you back to the present. Think of it like hitting the reset button. Neuroscience shows this simple action can help rewire the brain, making it easier to stay present over time. Chapter 2: The Perfection Trap. Why chasing full presence is a myth. Let's get one thing straight. Mindfulness doesn't mean being perfectly present all the time. Chasing perfection sets you up for failure. Even mindfulness experts struggle with staying fully in the moment, and that's okay. In his book The Art of Imperfection, psychologist Tal Ben-Shahar explains, the pursuit of perfection often prevents the achievement of excellence. In other words, if you're aiming for 100% presence, you're missing the point. Mindfulness is about embracing imperfection, allowing yourself to be distracted, noticing it, and gently returning to the present. Instead of trying to be in a perfect state of Zen all the time, focus on creating small mindful moments throughout your day. These don't have to be complicated rituals. It can be as simple as paying attention to how your feet feel on the ground when you walk, or really tasting your food during lunch. Think of mindfulness as a practice, not a destination. The goal is to experience brief, meaningful moments of presence, not hours of uninterrupted mindfulness. A good strategy is to aim for micro-mindfulness sessions, 30 seconds here, 2 minutes there. These small shifts add up over time, reducing stress and increasing focus. And when you release the need for perfection, you actually make more room for real moments of presence. Chapter 3: Subtle Habits That Sabotage Mindfulness. You're doing them daily. We all have sneaky habits that quietly sabotage our efforts to stay present. And the truth is, many of these habits are so ingrained, we don't even notice them. Let's start with one big offender: overplanning. Planning is necessary, of course, but spending too much time strategizing every detail of your future keeps your mind stuck in what's next. In fact, a study from the University of Liverpool found that obsessive planning can lead to higher levels of anxiety. Instead of constantly planning, try practicing just enough planning. Set aside specific times to make plans, then let it go. Trust yourself to adjust as needed. Another sneaky habit is seeking constant validation. Whether it's through social media or casual conversations, checking how others perceive us can pull us out of the moment. Research from the Journal of Experimental Psychology shows that the more we rely on external approval, the harder it becomes to focus on internal experiences. Try a technique called internal referencing. When you catch yourself seeking validation, ask, "What do I think about this?" It's a powerful way to reclaim your focus. Finally, let's talk about multitasking. We all do it, and we all know it's bad for our focus. But did you know that multitasking can reduce your productivity by up to 40%, according to research from the American Psychological Association? Instead of trying to juggle multiple tasks, try the single tasking method. Dedicate short bursts of focus time to one task, then take a mindful break. This strategy not only boosts mindfulness but also improves efficiency. If you're finding value in this video, don't forget to subscribe. Join us for more tips on how to enhance your mindfulness journey and reclaim your presence in everyday life. Chapter 4: Emotional Hijacks. How your feelings pull you out of the now. Ever notice how strong emotions can completely pull you away from the present moment? One minute you're fine, and the next you're overwhelmed by frustration, excitement, or sadness. That's because emotions are powerful. According to psychologist Daniel Goleman, emotions have the ability to hijack the brain's prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for rational thinking. This is why you sometimes feel powerless when you're swept up in a wave of emotion. But here's the good news: you can stop these emotional hijacks in their tracks with something called emotional labeling. Research from UCLA found that simply naming an emotion, like saying to yourself, "I feel anxious," reduces the intensity of that feeling. This simple practice helps activate the brain's rational side, giving you a chance to regain control. Another strategy is breath awareness. When emotions start taking over, focus on your breath. Take a slow inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, and then exhale for 4. This technique, known as box breathing, is used by Navy SEALs to stay calm in high-pressure situations. It works because it sends signals to your brain that you're safe, which helps diffuse the emotional storm. Finally, you can practice mindful acceptance. Instead of resisting or fighting your emotions, allow them to exist without judgment. John Kabat-Zinn, a mindfulness expert, often says, "You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf." This approach gives you space to observe your emotions, without letting them pull you out of the moment. Chapter 5: The Dopamine Trap. Why your brain craves distraction. You know that rush you get from checking your phone notifications? That's dopamine at work. Dopamine is the feel-good chemical in the brain, and it's highly addictive. The problem is, our brains are wired to seek out more and more dopamine, which keeps us stuck in a cycle of distraction. A study from the University of California found that the average person checks their phone 150 times a day. No wonder it's hard to stay present. But you don't have to be a victim of the dopamine trap. One strategy is to create dopamine detoxes. This doesn't mean cutting out all technology, but rather setting specific times to disconnect. For example, set a rule where you don't check your phone for the first hour of your day. This gives your brain a break from constant dopamine hits and makes it easier to focus on the present. Another effective tactic is single tasking. Every time you multitask, you're triggering small bursts of dopamine, which keeps you distracted. Instead, focus on one task at a time. A study from Stanford University showed that people who single task are far more productive and less stressed than multitaskers. Plus, single tasking helps train your brain to stay engaged with what's happening in the moment. You can also incorporate mindful tech use. Before you pick up your phone, ask yourself, what's my intention? Are you checking it out of habit, or do you actually need to use it? By setting clear intentions, you're less likely to get lost in mindless scrolling. If you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please subscribe. Join our community for more insights, tips, and tricks on how to enhance your mindfulness journey and reclaim your presence in everyday life. Together, we can embrace the beauty of being truly present.